Thank you for joining us today on Earthfile. Welcome to the program. I'm Ayola Kasim. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change was clear in its sixth assessment report about the human causes of climate change. The global energy sector is the biggest contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, and so transforming it will be critical for mitigating emissions. While the desire and determination to switch global energy are not guesswork, the challenge is how to transition, and indeed at what rate, to avoid disrupting global economies and in particular to mitigate transition risk for developing countries. This challenge raises two important questions, experts say. One, what will be the longer-term implications of the energy transition for Sub-Saharan Africa, especially in Nigeria? And two, can the region leverage clean industrialization to mitigate some of these transition risks? These questions are our focus today on Earthfile. So stay with us. Energy consumption has long been considered as one of the most important resources for industrial development and economic growth for any country. From the beginning of the Industrial Revolution till today, non-renewable energy has been the dominant source of energy driving economic activities, accounting for about 87% of primary energy used globally. China, India, and Pakistan, as well as African economies, highly rely on non-renewable energy consumption for industrialization and economic growth. Due to the necessity to reduce energy deficiency and because it is cheaper and easily accessible relative to renewable energies. However, the increased dependence on non-renewable energy threatens environmental sustainability, especially through the release of carbon dioxide emissions and other greenhouse gas emissions. This has generated interest in renewable energy, which has the ability to minimize environmental and ecological damage.
Opening plenary session for today.
The Nigeria Energy Forum, through its annual series, has been working on bridging the funding gaps needed by industries to fund their energy needs in the country.
Funded projects had zero access to energy sources, electricity sources.
So this year's edition focused on energizing sustainable industrialization and mobilizing multi-million-dollar investments for boosting domestic manufacturing, financing energy transition, and transforming climate-smart community action.
Sustainable industrialization refers to the process of adding value and transforming agro-commodities, solid minerals, and natural resources into partly or finished products, thereby boosting economic growth, creating high-value jobs, and transforming the landscape for prosperity. Now, energy is the golden thread that connects sustainable industrialization to social development and economic growth. That is why the NEF 2024 is focused on mobilizing high-value multi-million US dollar investments for boosting homegrown manufacturing, increasing foreign exchange revenues, and facilitating import substitution.
Across Nigeria, commercial and industrial companies face similar challenges. The Nigerian national grid meets only about 20% of nationwide energy demand, with an average of 4 gigawatts delivered in 2023. High and volatile fossil fuel costs for backup power supply means Nigerian manufacturers spend up to 40% of their cost on energy. Companies must purchase, operate, and maintain multiple power generation assets to provide backup power or even replace the unreliable and poor electricity from the grid. President Bola Tinubu announced the removal of fuel subsidies immediately on taking office in May 2023. Motorists soon saw the cost of fuel increase threefold, and experts believe there is little prospect of fuel costs significantly receding anytime soon. It has been suggested that even the long-awaited opening of the Dangote refinery, which should reduce dependence on imports of refined fuel, will only make a modest difference to the price of petrol at the pump. While prices of petrol and diesel skyrocket, Nigerians are finally taking a closer look at the potential of renewable energy. The share of renewable energy in the Nigerian energy mix in meeting up to the country's 2060 net zero target is now more in focus than ever before.
Basically, number one, we have a project we call Energy Support Program under and sponsored by the GIZ. That's the German partner.
Correct.
So, and before, if you look at the renewable energy space, it's difficult to track because every individual now,
Yes.
even from your respective home, everybody have different solar system installed. Just the same way, it's difficult for. It's now there's a project on that already to be able to track. So now with the help of our German partner, so we are developing a software whereby it will be easier for us to track all the private sector. Most of this renewable energy before is being driven by most of the time private sector. If you look at it this way, and some of these people, in most cases, the people that are supposed to the Energy Commission of Nigeria, actually, they are the ones that are supposed to at least be using to track this kind of, because the Energy Commission of Nigeria, they are in charge of policy of this overall energy mix in the country. So, but at the same time, when we know that is a problem, we have a target. Now, this is now government now decided, okay, fine. Now, this is a serious problem. We have to exactly know what we are now to be able to determine what is going to be the share in 2030. So there is a project ongoing now already to be able to track all the individual. But from the government side, yes, we can track because this is a government project. We have different projects on the renewable. Talk of hydro, talk of solar, different solar project. Talk of renewable, even talk of the NHPDC.
Okay.
So we have the capacity. We have we can tell you, okay, this is what we have, but that cannot tell you the overall country
installed capacity
of renewable energy. We can only say hypothetically.
Limited progress has been made in installing utility-scale renewables that deliver power to the electricity grid. The country's largest utility-scale solar project, commissioned in 2023, has an installed capacity of just 10 megawatts by comparison to South Africa's largest solar plant, which has a 175 megawatt capacity. The situation is more promising for off-grid solar in Nigeria. Multiple companies have entered the market to supply solar systems to businesses or households, while many grids that generate power from solar panels and typically serve rural communities are also growing in popularity. But moving from where we are to where we ought to be requires a lot of finance and partnerships. The Nigeria Energy Forum partners say unlocking Nigeria's potential will require reliable, affordable, and equitable access to sustainable energy to fully realize its full economic and industrial development potential.
SGP, the Jeff Small Grants Program, will support community-based environment-related initiatives. Anything that will add to the clamor to manage our environment very well. And what we have found out is that it is not just the environmentalists, the experts in environment now that are concerned, but even a lawyer is concerned about environmental issues. And so what we do is to support any community-based environmental initiatives. And because what you find out, when the banks and all that are talking about business economy, you find out that the informal sector form, I think, over 50% of the businesses in Nigeria, if I am correct, but a large chunk of it. And so if the informal sector is not enhanced, is not developed, I think it was you I was arguing with that this issue of power, band A, band B, I'm still trying to grapple with it because it is the people in the community that actually need the power. Somebody said, which I agree, give Nigeria power, every other thing is likely to fall in place. And if the communities don't have access to this power, then of course, what are we saying? Then the rich continues to get richer and the poor continues to get poorer. So this is what we are trying to do, because when you are talking of sustainability, if the people and the majority of Nigerians are in the rural area, if they are not enhanced, if they are not empowered, that's only a little we can do. So far, we have worked in over 29 states. I'm sure by now, this is as at last year, we've not added our figure to it this year. 29 states in Nigeria, we have supported over 190 community environmental projects.
All on a firm focused on scaling up the renewable energy sector in Nigeria is one of the partners the Nigeria Energy Forum is banking on.
Why is this important in today's conversation? We're talking about the energy transition. We're talking about large-scale projects. Well, I'm happy to say that as of today, the markets, the countries, the governments have realized that off-grid is an essential part of us getting to scale. Vision 2030 is not only about main grid-connected renewable energy, it's also about ensuring that we have the off-grid community that develops in parallel, because it is essential to get everyone connected. We want to get to scale. Well, we need off-grid. It's a key part of the equation. And we do that by investing, but it goes way beyond the dollar. We think about technological innovation. We encourage entrepreneurship.
In order to achieve development goals such as universal access to electricity and industrialization, in light of ever-increasing population, Nigeria requires rapid expansion of electricity generation capacity and production. In addition, the nation's decarbonization goals require the electrification of sectors such as cooking, industry, and transportation. According to the Nigeria Energy Transition Plan, electricity demand is expected to increase significantly in the net zero pathway. And now there is a growing interest in developing a local solar panel manufacturing capability. In fact, Nigerian company Oxano Solar already has a small-scale manufacturing facility in Lagos with a capacity of 110 megawatts per year. It is believed that a more reliable supply chain is crucial if mini-grids and renewable energy schemes more broadly are to make a major contribution to solving Nigeria's power difficulties. There comes in the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, launched at COP26 in Glasgow in 2021 and is dedicated to addressing the defining challenge of our time, which is the transition to green energy in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean.
If we have that, if we're all working towards that common goal, recognizing the opportunity, and I think that's what we at GF, along with our alliance partners, see. It's an opportunity. You have, 600 million people without access to energy. If you're able to provide that access to energy in a sustainable manner using renewable, then you create several Oxanos. You create new businesses. You create sustainable growth. You create employment. So really, it's an opportunity, and therefore, as long as you have that, as long as we have that common purpose, and it's not just, the alliance members, it's the developers, it's the financiers, it's the government, it really takes everybody to say, we're going to address this problem, and we're going to do it through the collaborative effort of all.
This partnership has committed $15 million to expand the demand aggregation for the Renewable Technology Program and commissioned 350 kilowatt mini-grid in Benue State. It also provided 234 kilowatt solar hybrid mini-grid in Shimanka community in Plateau State. As well as introduced standalone solar system in market in Lagos. And it has also helped one of the local players, Oxano. The Alliance is also funding in Nigeria Women for Green Jobs program to promote gender equity in clean energy workspaces and success on the job. In recent years, impact investors are making inroads into the clean energy sector in Nigeria and are helping many startups to scale up, like the folks in Oxano, to boost the energy needs of Nigerians.
the renewable energy off-grid sector still is a relatively nascent sector, less now today's compared to 6 years ago when it started, but still, there's still a lot for the players in this sector to learn and to acquire, to develop, and to become the big businesses that we need. So that in mind, we had to, when we started, we had to put in place an offering that was not just the equity and the debt into companies, which is obviously critical, but to get those companies to be ready for these investments, for this debt or equity, you also need to prepare them. And this is what we do at the Hub. We take companies from what we call the ideation stage. Think of it when it's just a seed, a simple idea, and we help it mature through all of the different stages to get to that growth required for investment. And this takes time. It takes patience. It takes work, hand-holding. To be able to do that, you need to be able to do it with patient partners. So this is what GAP is. GAP is this patient partner that has realized that when it comes to getting to scale in the Nigeria off-grid sector, we will need to prepare the companies to be set up. And from day one, they've really been a partner, a funding partner, a brainstorm partner. They've really been working with us to support these kind of companies. Oxano is one of these companies that has benefited from the All on Hub support and therefore benefited through GAP as well.
My name is Obio Emeke Alex, Oxano Solar Nigeria Limited Production Manager here in Ibejuleki. Production begins here with the solar cell testing machine. This is the solar cell tester, and what this machine does is help in testing the cell parameters, which is basically the wattage, testing the volts and maximum current each cell can give out.
Okay.
A single cell is 5 watts, for instance, you understand? So by the time you multiply the 5 watts times the 60 cells in the 300 watt panel, you will have the 300 watts. So at the end of the day, you see that cells must be tested, because when you have a large variances between your cells, you may not achieve what you want. And at the end of the day, you may be having less reading. Let's say 220 watts, 280 watts, you get? So instead of the 300 watts. So we need to test the cells to make sure that we are getting it right.
A solar module comprises 6 components, but arguably the most important one is the photovoltaic cell, which generates electricity. The conversion of sunlight, made up of particles called photons, into electrical energy by a solar cell is called the photovoltaic effect. Hence why experts refer to solar cells as photovoltaic, or PV for short. And here in this unit, it must be tested to ensure its voltage. The efficiency of a PV cell is the amount of electrical power that is coming out of the cell compared to the energy from the light shining on it. This number demonstrates how effective the cell is at converting energy.
What we look out for, first off, every cell, it has the power rating. Technically, power is a product of voltage and current. Okay, so that's what brings out power. Yeah, so when we are checking the power, we are checking the voltage, we are checking the current. Okay, so for every solar panel you see out there, there's a specification at the back of the solar panel that will tell you, you see VOC, ISC, IM, PM, they mean something. And that is what we need to find out, starting with the cell testing. So when we get there, we can be able to say, okay, this is the voltage from each of the cells. Remember that some panels have to be 60 cells, some have to be 72 cells, some have to be 36 cells. Whatever they are, they come out with different outputs. The emphasis there is to make sure that you are matching the right cells with the right cells. So if you have the cells with this particular set of voltage, you are identifying them at the solar testing side and making sure they are matching with the exact cells that will produce the panel. We don't want to have a variation of mismatch in terms of voltage for a single solar panel. It brings down the output. So we have to make sure that, so it's a rigorous process, but we have to do it. So what we have seen in the past, the solars, the monocrystalline, they started with full cells, but they are now tilting towards the half cells. What the half cells does for you is that you can have a smaller panel but with the same output that should be. I'll give you, for instance, a 300 watts in the past 60 cell. Remember, in deployment of solar, space is key. Wherever you're going to install it, you have to install in available space. So you see a 300 watts with a full cell, that will give you 300 watts. But with the half cut, you can have a half cut that is smaller in size, but still give you 300 watts. So what technology is helping us to do is that you can have smaller cells, if produced right, can give you the same output as a full cell. So why get the full cell when you can get reduced size?
As the demand for clean and sustainable energy rises, solar power has emerged as a promising solution for Nigeria's energy needs. However, despite its immense potential, the widespread adoption of solar energy in Nigeria faces several challenges. The high initial investment required for installation is a primary challenge, so also is a limited access to financing options. This poses another significant challenge for solar energy projects in the country. Many financial institutions are also reluctant to invest in renewable energy projects due to perceived risks and uncertainties.
But everybody is united around a common goal, which is energy access and making sure that energy access is met by renewables to save the planet. Really, that's at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about. Save the planet, but also make sure people have economic development while that is happening. There are no certainties in life, but if we have that, if we're all working towards that common goal, recognizing the opportunity, and I think that's what we at GF, along with our alliance partners, see. It's an opportunity. You have, 600 million people without access to energy. If you're able to provide that access to energy in a sustainable manner using renewable, then you create several oxanos. You create new businesses. You create sustainable growth. You create employment. So really, it's an opportunity, and therefore, as long as you have that, as long as we have that common purpose, and it's not just the alliance members, it's the developers, it's the financiers, it's the government. It really takes everybody to say we're going to address this problem, and we're going to do it through the collaborative effort of all.
At the moment, the cells needed for the production are not made in Nigeria, despite the abundance of the raw material here in the country. Natural beach sand is the main component in making pure silicon. Though it is an abundant resource in the world, even here in Nigeria, the process of getting pure silicon comes at a cost and requires a lot of energy. That energy and the finance required to convert the silicon wafers into usable solar cells is still lacking here in Nigeria.
What you just mentioned around the upstream silica, that has to do with mining. As you know, in Nigeria, nobody does mining at scale. Banks don't lend to mining. If you want to mine, you need heavy equipment. To get that heavy equipment, you need dollars. Well, you need foreign currency to import that heavy equipment. There's nobody that leases equipment. So that whole ecosystem that needs to be developed. Of course, like I said, everybody has limited resources. So, you really have to, you have to bring different people together and say, your strengths are in financing, mining, for example. How about we look at this, create some certainty around the market so that, investors, equity providers, they have the comfort to invest in the upstream mining because they know it will eventually flow to players like Oxano who will use it and create that certainty around markets.
But everyone here at the plant are glad with what they have going.
When I see solar panels and all, I'll be like, it gives me joy that, I can do this thing, like very well, 100% I can do it. So it gives me really joy to be here, and the experience I've learned over the years, I cannot, I'm overwhelmed, right? If I see a solar panel, I'll be like, wow, this thing, I can do it.
At the end of the day, you see it's just one now. Everything becomes one. Yes. So it has melted everything.
Solar panels efficiency continues to increase as many home and business owners choose clean energy The solar manufacturing industry is expected to grow, and there is hope that solar manufacturing costs will continue to reduce as research and development continue.
That's our show for the week. Thank you for watching our inbox. Earthfile at channelstv.com is available for all your comments and your questions. From me, Ayola Kasim, and the team here in Lagos, it's bye for now.